After the meeting, Alexei came to me and he asked me to meet that evening. Did everybody know that?
No.
At your hotel at 6 o'clock or whatever it is?
Yeah.
Meet me at the front door because I can't go into your hotel being a Soviet citizen unaccompanied. It felt a little clandestine, you know.
You want to show me something important.
I had brought with me a Sharp Famicom, and I had a little portable videotape player, tiny videotape, and it had a screen that had a RCA in. I wanted to show him Tetris on Nintendo. He'd never seen it.
Yeah. I tried to play. I was completely disappointed because it was a wrong hand. I play with my right hand and drop with my left hand, but with the joypad.
Yeah, joypad.
Yeah, it was different kind of disappointment, which I politely hide. but anyway. And probably the same day, maybe next day, we went to my apartment because I was desperate to show him my other games. He was the first professional game designer I ever see in my life. So basically, it was important to at least hear his opinion. Maybe he would be interested in publishing something or whatever, but what is important, I don't know. I am out of this world. So that's why I take some kind of risk to inviting him.
Saturday and Sunday, basically, we had no meetings. You took me on a tour.
Today is a wonderful day. We have done most of our business. Today we are sightseeing with Mr. Pajitnov.
This building like a false teeth.
We are just about arriving at the Red Square.
Yes.
Or I should say the Kremlin. It's supposed to be 9 churches in one. This is Mr. Alexei Pajitnov. He is the author of Tetris.
Play Tetris.
Play Tetris.
My friends.
Okay. That's it. Bye-bye.
So, you have to see my barb. I'm Russian people.
Beard.
Beard. Barb is in French.
I see. This is Arbat Street. There's a lot of free activity going on here, like music and poetry being read and art being shown. And here's the artist, and she's. Hi. Just bought a very nice little book from Arbat at Arbat Street.
And the next day he invite me to Japanese restaurant. I had no idea what Japanese people eat, and then I found out that I put in situation when I need to use wooden stick instead of forks, and moreover I need to eat the fresh uncooked fish, which kind of absolutely unthinkable thing for Russians. Fish is something you, for sanitary reason, you need to cook, overcook, and overcook again, you know. But he kind of showed me how to handle those chopsticks, and then he showed me that this green stuff is really hot kind of spice,
Wasabi.
which could help me to swallow this uncooked fish and whatever. So basically, I managed to be okay.
You managed to be okay.
Yeah.
Guess what his favorite food is now? Sushi. You know, a little taste of Japan.
And strange restaurant, very fancy, but they don't manage to cook the fish, the most cookable kind of food out of anything else, you know.
Yeah, oh my goodness.
That was another quite an experience for me, yeah. Besides Nintendo machine, which is upside down device. Japan is another planet, with another lifestyle, with another human behavior, weather, buildings, everything. You are really on the other planet there. Entire visit in Kyoto was kind of important for me. The second day, it was a short visit with Mr. Yamauchi. He was a normal kind of serious businessman, very polite, very kind and we did have a good conversation. He started with apologizing that was a small kind of bug in the Game Boy Tetris, something with the probability of the pieces. We discussed how we fix it and decided to fix it, and then he gifted me with the electronic organizer. Absolutely stupid device of this time, but it was very fashionable. Complicated calculator with the small screen which you could put schedule on. It's something which died maybe 4 months after that. but I still keep this this strange device somewhere in my closet. It was about maybe 30, maybe 40 minutes, kind of. And everybody was impressed about this meeting, and I still don't understand why. But what I was really impressed is to visit their warehouse. Huge building, 3-story building, 700 yards long, filled up with Tetrises. If you could imagine your creation in this amount, you won't sleep the next night for sure. That's how I remember Kyoto for myself.
The console versions were never quite as good as the Game Boy version.
I think Game Boy Tetris for me was like the game that I played the most. I think it was such a game changer, right? Because we're already playing the Famicom, like NES type games at home, but then now you can take that everywhere. I remember like going to Disneyland or going on trips, and we would have the Game Boy, we would link it up and play together.
Game Boy looks for me like a device for Tetris, by default. With the small screen, with the good resolution. Buttons work well, music was excellent. I did play Mario on it, but Tetris is much better on the Game Boy, at least for my opinion.
People think the Game Boy version was probably the perfect game.
And I do remember that once it was a Tetris competition, and some schoolboy came to me to sign the cartridge. I signed, and he is glued into the Game Boy. I was very impressed with this. So for me, Tetris is really literally glued in the Game Boy. So if you remember Game Boy, you can't forget Tetris. Historically, they are together.
The heart level, if you push the certain combination when you're booting up the game, it goes to the heart levels. And the heart levels are way faster than any other level. It's so fast that if your piece drops, you cannot reach the side higher than 4 off the bottom. So that's how fast it's going. So if you want to do a Tetris, you need to make the hole in the middle and hope that the long piece comes. Oh, shoot.
I saw so many versions on home computers and other devices, so for me as a designer, it wasn't anything really exceptional. But it was a really, really decent, very good version. Probably that was the best version if to not take in account my own computer version, which was much better for me, of course, because I made it. Yeah.
Tengen was going to make cartridges without paying Nintendo. They had reverse engineered the Nintendo cartridge. The Nintendo cartridge had a patented lockout system, a copyrighted song, which is a piece of code that all of the data would be passed through, and then they had the trademark, the word Nintendo, on the cartridge. Tengen had managed to get through all those three.
Did you reverse engineer the code? Did you do it properly? Because depending on how you figured out to jailbreak the machine, there were ways that if you did it through a black box, you can go off and do it. And if you didn't, you couldn't do it.
Nintendo was in court with them. That was going to take time. By that time, Tengen's first game would have come out already. What was their first game? Tetris.
You're gonna give us a copy, yes?
Tengen版の Tetris。
But apparently, Tengen, in the creation of their version of Tetris, actually used some of the Nintendo code, which violated the rules of the black box.
So if they could stop Tetris, that would put Tengen back a long time. So I go back to Japan, I call Arakawa, I said, this is and this and this is what's happening. He said, get us the right to Tetris. What happens when Atari Games sues me? We will protect you. Like, okay. So I found myself a month later, I'm back in the Soviet Union. I said, yeah, I'm ready to do a deal for the console rights. And do you need me to bring the president of Nintendo? And they said, yes. And they came on a clandestine mission. Everybody at Nintendo of America thought they were in Japan, but they actually flew to London and from London to Moscow. We went through a week of negotiation. So I ended up getting Nintendo the rights to console worldwide, and then they licensed back to me in Japan. So my in-laws' property stayed intact.
Everybody want to do 3D Tetris. And it was a version of 3D Tetris called Blockout. And I really hate it.
Hank Rogers plays Blockout. First time try to play Black.
I realized that immediately that it's too much pressure for human mind to deal with this strange mainframe kind of shape of the pieces and whatever. It was possible to play for maybe 5-10 minutes, but then you kind of get away.
This is Andrei Sneger, the main programmer and Docker company. Made this first well-dressed prototype.
One of my friends do very good prototype. I don't even remember what the game was about, but he kind of have a very good design of this well, kind of three walls on the bottom. So I decided that for Tetris it would be very interesting to try.
Make each Tetris screen be a side of a wall and have the pieces fall, and you can go around the side of the wall.
Shape of the Field delivered a really, really strong feeling of 3D, but it doesn't spoil the game with the overloading mind. That was very important. Very interesting kind of phenomena happened with the piece. At the bottom, on the edge, partially on one and partially on the other, it kind of splits on the bottom.
It was addictive. It was a natural sequel. Weltris won an award at SPA the following year after Tetris.
And Lockout wasn't there. I do remember that one of my first very original game, I called it Crowd. Later it was published under the name of Muddled Casino in Microsoft Entertainment Pack.
Alexis puzzles usually stimulate the mathematical mind, and Mud, this new game, is a good example.
Your task is to put them away from the field from this small window. In this order, this will be first.
But if you suspect the model is locked for non players.
You have this crowd, and you call them either to left, either to right, either up, either down, but every time the different subsets going on. You muddle them, and you miss them a lot while you operate with them.
The goal is to get all the objects out of the box. They can only be moved in groups. If you put together spades and clubs, or diamonds and hearts, you can move a group to the right. Selecting all green backgrounds or all orange ones lets you go to the left. To go up, you have to choose between circles or squares. To go down, you have to mix red and black suits. If you think you're confused, now I you can do it.
And now put the circle up. Enough?
But now I want to separate that guy and bring him down. Oops, that's not a good idea, I bet.
It took intense concentration to avoid getting stuck. I could see this game was geometry, logic, and strategy, all rolled into one.
You made it!
Okay, I got one.
You see, this game is rich enough. I don't
Yeah,
know.
sure,
I
sure.
like it very much, but maybe it's a little bit complicated.
Right now, I understand why you call it muddle, because my mind's kind of a muddle right now.
That was my very first, very original game which I produced. For me personally, the best kind of pleasure is the pleasure of intellectual activity. So this kind of pleasure I would like to present to my customer, to my players. I did a game called Swap and Drop, the fragment of the pieces, which kind of in pair goes down, and you could swap them and shift together. That's how it worked. And we did two different games out of it. Tetris with the heads, those heads going this way, and you need to collect the pile of 5 heads, and they have different property. I like Tetris very well, and hand published it for Nintendo, but for Nintendo it didn't, for Famicom it didn't work very well. Don't remember very big sales on it. Some team did it with the faces. Spectrum Holobyte published this game.
The swap and drop framework was a good framework, so it didn't take us much energy to figure out how to tweak it so that it was right. Pieces would come down, and you have to make sure a face is stacked in the right order. So you have the mouth, the nose, the eyes, and the hat or the hair.
And if you don't do the face and have kind of 4 eyes, for example, that's a failure.
You get bonus points if you complete the face that is the intended face versus a random face, different slices of different people's faces. Very simple concept. Also move progressively faster and faster. We knew that players were trying to optimize to get the perfect face. That ultimately worked against you. Because as you were getting the perfect face, you were creating new problems over here on the other sides of the stack. And that's part of the kind of the game mechanic for that particular game.
I didn't like it very well, this faces idea. It didn't fit my feeling that we could play with human faces this way. But they were very fascinated to put Gorbachev with Thatcher eyes and Gorbachev kind of bald stuff and whatever. Wasn't very successful, but probably broke even.
When a new platform comes out, or when the old games, everybody has it already, what do you do for an encore?
Here we are playing one proposal for a Tetris 2, and it's quite different from anything that I've played. The fact that I can't stop playing is a good sign.
I remember talking to Alexei about this a lot. What does Tetris 2 look like? From the very first night that we were together, we talked about, like, what do we do about Tetris 2? And yeah, I thought about this. We made a policy that we were always going to include Tetris. For each subsequent version, it would be Tetris with something. That's why the second one was Tetris 2 plus Bombless. Tetris Battle Gaiden was like with magic effects and so on and so forth. It's cute. We worked hard to think about all these magical effects you could do to affect the other guy's play field and so on. And I think that's a pretty good version of Tetris. It was a fun game. Bombless, it's funny. So the guy's name is Ishihara, and he's the guy who went on to make Pokemon. That's the guy. On my second trip to Moscow with Arakawa and Lincoln, who do we meet in the lunchroom of the hotel? But it's Ishihara. What the hell is he doing here? He was there for Fishing for Rights because he had created Bombless. If I hadn't been back, he could have gotten the Tetris rights instead of me. So I dodged that bullet. He must have gone to Yamauchi. Well, Nintendo said this game is too close to Tetris, so you're going to have to talk to Hank and publish it through Hank. And that's what he ended up doing. We analyzed the game. The game was definitely a Tetris knockoff. According to the law, I could have just published Bombless without paying him anything. But actually, I paid him like, I don't know, $1 a unit or something like that. And, it's the right thing to do.
Beautiful windward side of Hawaii. Isn't this lovely?
Hank and I and Alexi would get together in Hawaii, and we would hang out at Hank's house.
We need the blue one.
Get that blue one. Get the blue guy.
We were like brainstorming different designs, and so we were trying to figure out how to go back to the original Tetris and make it super. The first concept was, rather than start with a clear will, we start with a messy will. The goal of the game would be to clear out the messy part, and that would get you to the next level of progression. And so we came up with this idea of having bombs. So you have pieces and bombs. Bombs was a digger, pieces were builders, same scoring mechanisms of making up lines. That became Super Tetris. Alexi and myself worked really hard to try to get that game tuned. That game did pretty well.
The perestroika economical situation become worse and worse, so I need to think about the money more and more. Because at some point I signed the paper which says that I grant the rights for Tetris to my computer center for 10 years.
1985 to 1995, Ilorg was going to be the agent for the computer center for Academy Soft. Those documents all said that all the rights revert to Alexei at the end of 1995.
Well, Nintendo made money, and we made some money, and Hank made some money, right? None of the money actually got to Alexei.
In 93 is when he asked me to help him because he said, come 1995, they're just going to try to take the game from me. So let's make a deal. And we shook hands on a deal. And my lawyer said, oh, Alexei needs a lawyer. And then I said, Alexei, you need a lawyer. And he says, I don't need a lawyer. He said, if I get a lawyer, your lawyer will fight with my lawyer, your lawyer will win, and I'll be in a worse position than I am now. I'm just going to trust you. You take care of it. That deal is still alive today. So,
at the end of the day, Hank never abandoned Alexei.
We've never had a dispute between me and Alexei. Starting with a handshake in 1993. Oh my gosh, that's 30 years.
He made sure he ultimately got his payday.
I gotta say, you know what? The smartest thing you ever did is he entered Tetris into a computer game contest, and he got second prize, second best game. But the point is that it had the copyright Alexei Pajitnov. So then he established copyright publicly at that event.
Yeah.
Smart guy. In Japan, all of a sudden, there was a fad that came out. You could buy this little 8 by 12 Tetris machine, and it was called Tetorin. It was it was a little tiny Tetris game. And so we went to bat, and we chased the company down and said, no, you can't be doing this. This is a Tetris knockoff. We went to court and stopped them from publishing the game. And rather than have those just start to go black market, what we did is we went upstream and we said, we'll buy your production. And we upgraded the design, and we sold them in Japan, and Square sold them in the US. By the way, the next keychain game that came after that was Tamagotchi. So we started the keychain game boom in Japan with Tetris, and then Tamagotchi came, which was a huge hit. When finally we took control of Tetris in 1995, and we formed the Tetris company, the first thing we did is we standardized Tetris across all platforms. We say to every licensee, says, look, your game has to be better than any other game that's come before, and yet has to contain Tetris. And so as a result, Tetris improves over time. I mean, we treated Tetris like Disney treats Mickey Mouse, you know? So the colors had to be exact, the rotation had to be exact, the timing had to be exact, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And if you look at the old Tetris, Tetris on Game Boy, Tetris on Sega, they were completely different. On the Game Boy, when Game Boy rotation, I mean, we before Tetris across all platforms. We say to every licensee, says, look, your game has to be better than any other game that's come before, and yet has to contain Tetris. And so as a result, Tetris improves over time. I mean, we treated Tetris like Disney treats Mickey Mouse, you know? So the colors had to be exact, the rotation had to be exact, the timing had to be exact, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And if you look at the old Tetris, Tetris on Game Boy, Tetris on Sega, they were completely different. On the Game Boy, when a piece drops, you can rotate it as it's falling. And that's visual rotation. It actually looks like it's rotating on the spot. If you land the T-piece on its back, then it's stuck. There's no way you can rotate it anymore. On the Sega, if you rotate that T-piece as it's falling, it looks like it's jumping around in a little circle. It's not rotating on a spot. You can drop it, and then you can still rotate it once it's landed. It actually has to jump up to be able to rotate. On the Game Boy, you do all your thinking while the piece is falling, and on the Sega, you drop it, and then you do your thinking. It's just a different way to play the same game. So I came up with a rotation system we call it super rotation. And the way super rotation works is while it's falling, we do visual rotation, which is the Game Boy rotation. Then once the piece has landed and this doesn't work anymore, then it'll try this. And so what we did was we created a rotation system that could accept both players from both systems, because before that they couldn't cross over. They were just too different.
And over time, there's something like called a T-spin, where you can do the same thing with the T-piece, and like if you put the T-piece in the right space and clear lines, then it has the same score as the Tetris, 4 line clears.
And we also had to create the bag system.
So you're not going to get stuck with like 7 Z pieces. That could happen, and then you're really messed up.
In the original Tetris, the pieces are completely random. I remember checking into a hotel. I said, oh yeah, you have something to do with Tetris? Yeah, you know, it's watching me, and it doesn't give me the eyepiece when I need it. And I said, it's completely random. I said, no, it's not. It's watching me. I said, sorry, I know exactly what it's doing. It's random. If you're waiting for the eyepiece, sometimes it doesn't come. The way the bag system works is that you have 7 tetraminos. You put them in a bag, you shuffle them, and then you pay them out. Then you put them back in the bag, shuffle them again. So then if you have an eyepiece come out, the worst situation is that it can be at the beginning of the first bag and at the end of the second bag. So that means, 13 pieces later, you're guaranteed to get an eyepiece.
So then you can start strategizing on how you play the game versus everything is up to luck.
It makes it more predictable. And so you could say that Tetris lost something, but because of the variance, we had to do it. In Tetris Worlds, we created 6 different versions of Tetris. 5 different ones. There's Tetris and then 5 variants. There were a whole bunch of things that we tried. We're here with Mark, with Alexei Pajitnov, looking at some of the Tetris Worlds games to see what can be done about improving them. Alexei has an opinion about everything. Some of them needed special rotation. one where if you clear a line, the pieces above fall down, and so you can get a cascade going. One of them, you made squares, 4x4 squares. You get extra points if you cleared a line that had part of a square in it. In order to do that, we needed to have a hold piece, because there's no way you can actually get enough pieces of. You would have to wait 2 cycles for that piece to come back. The bag system, it kind of stuck in there. I'm kind of like, now we're having second thoughts because we're back to original Tetris. Why need the bag system? You could do a bigger bag, maybe a double bag, in which case you could have or just no bag. 2002, I started my mobile phone game company called Blue Lava Wireless. And the reason I started it was because we were trying to license Tetris to a US company. And the biggest upfront guarantee we got from anybody was for $25,000. It's like, dudes, you guys have no idea what's going to happen in this country. It's before camera phones. Camera phone means that you have a screen and you have a CPU that's strong enough to actually move graphics, which means you can make a computer game. Before that, it was all text. I decided, I'll do it myself. So I licensed Tetris, started a company, Blue Lava Wireless. The first phone company I licensed. Before that, it was all text. CPU that's strong enough to actually move graphics, which means you can make a computer game. Before that, it was all text. I decided, I'll do it myself. So I licensed Tetris, started a company, Blue Lava Wireless. The first phone company with games was Sprint. It was going to be Sprint. They were going to come out in June. And it's something like April. And I send my my sales guy, John Ray, to Sprint. I said, don't bother coming back until you get a deal, which was the same thing that I did. And sure enough, it took him something like 10 days. And of course, we had the #1 game. And then I sold my company with the worldwide rights to Tetris for mobile phones to Jamdat for 15 years. And the reason I picked 15 years is nobody has a spreadsheet that goes past 10 years. So 15 years, nobody cares what happens then. It's got to be 1999 when things started to fall apart. Belikov and I were not agreeing to any deals. I would have a vote, Belikov would have a vote. And if it's a yes, then the license goes through. If it's a yes-no or a no-no, the license doesn't go through. My advisor says, buy him out. I said, buy him out? What are you talking about? He doesn't have any rights. And it says, read my lips, buy him out. Mobile phone game Tetris is going to come to a halt. And who knows what's going to happen to the industry while you decide to fight up because you're right. I asked Mr. Belikov, so how much do you want? And he gave me a number, and I got that money and bought him out. Everything ended in 2005.
I see, yeah.
That's when that's when I bought out Belikov.
Yeah.
That's when I bought Elorg. Yeah, we should revive Elorg.
We should claim the building, yes. It's a nice building, not far from my place in Moscow, by the way.
That's interesting. I never thought about that.
No, they don't owe it. The first thing they cash it out is the building, I'm pretty sure.
I see. Yeah, otherwise it would have been more money.
Exactly.
I grew up around video games in Japan, and my parents were in video games, and that really affected me, right, and as a child.
When she was 15, I asked her, so what do you want to be when you grow up? And she said, I don't know, but I want to make more money than you. I said, okay, deal. I'll take care of you now, and when I get old, you make more money than me, then you take care of me. I'll go and play golf.
Right after college, I went to work for a big company because my mom wanted me to go work for a big company. It's what we do, Japanese people. So I went to work at American Honda. So there I was working on physical cars. And then my dad would come into town for different video game events.
I knew Ken Kutaragi at the time, and I introduced him at Sony Party at E3. You know, they had the big Sony parties.
And I met a producer there and basically kind of got poached to go work for him. The first game I worked on was Gran Turismo 4. And so I went from working on physical cars to working on virtual cars. And I just remember the first day coming into Sony PlayStation and sitting at my desk, I just felt like, wow, this is where I need to be. And so I worked at PlayStation for a few years, and I went back to get my MBA.
She went and got her master's, which I never did.
My dad, at 52, he had a heart attack. He had a major heart attack and almost died. And I wanted to work with him. I wanted to learn from him.
I worked for my father, and I hated it. He never did any accounting. He never paid any taxes. He never listened to me. I wanted to do things properly. I wanted to create a system for it. And he wouldn't have it. When he eventually died, nobody knew what was going on. It just, the business evaporated. So I told my kids, I have 4 kids, I don't want you working for me. I don't need you to work for me because I had a bad relationship with my dad working with him. I'm not forbidding it. I'm just not suggesting it. If you end up working for me and we somehow don't get along as a family, you're fired. Because, you know, I can always hire somebody with your talents, but I can't get another family member. You know, that's a limited resource. So under those conditions, Maya joined the company anyway.
And so that was probably 15 years ago that I came and joined the family business officially. The business that my parents had was called Bulletproof Software. That was BPS growing up. That's what I remember. And then when they moved the business to the States, it became Blue Planet Software. Especially the company eventually moved to Hawaii. And now we're called Tetris because essentially that's what we do. The reason why we're based in Hawaii is because we have family roots here. This is where my parents met when they were in university. And this is really home for us.
I moved my family to Hawaii when Maya was 11 years old. I think the cutoff time for you to learn a new language completely is somewhere around 11.
We're also between Asia and the West, and America and Europe, and so we're able to do business both sides of the aisle. The fact that we chose Hawaii was for our family and to showcase that like we can live and choose where we want to be. Tetris is unique that it's still privately owned. It was never bought or it was never sold to a big company. It's been really important for me to try to expand the brand beyond video games, but really make it a lifestyle brand. We might work with Uniqlo or Puma to do merchandising. Tetris, McNuggets, it's funky, right? We really didn't know the culture phenomena that it was gonna have. That's a perfect example of like, I wasn't crazy about it, but like, let's try it out. So anything that touches the brand, we manage. We always consult with Hank and Alexi.
That means that time is up or something like that. Oh no, oh!
They own the game together, so everything that we do that's major to the brand, especially when it comes to like game design and moving things forward, we do get them involved.
She was made to be the boss.
So about the story goes, back to 2001. I was in Sega. When I finished making Reds, I wanted to try the concept of the synesthesia experience, but the puzzle game. So soon after I left Sega, I went to Hank for advice. I'm thinking the concept, new game design concept, like Tetris meets Reds. Hank's reaction was, "Oh, that's fantastic idea." So, but that was a licensing issue. He was like, "We should work together in the future." So we decided to make the new game at the launch title for PSP. So that was Luminous. When I founded Enhance in 2014, I met Hank again. What if, like that? What if the new Tetris coming? What kind of Tetris? What kind of future Tetris? Like that. He spoke to me very passionately about the Tetris players' zone states in a Zen feeling. And he said to me, "Gucci, you could do it. Couldn't you?" He said. Then I traveled to Hawaii many times with Ishihara, who became the director and art director of the project. And we, two of us, created a game concept together. And much of the inspiration of the Tetris effect came from our stay in the island of Hawaii. When I think about the idea of Tetris effects, my past experience, like I love to watch Tetris in arcade. I love to watch and I love to feel that kind of atmosphere. If the people watching this game around, how can we move them? The player wants to focus the game, watching just blocks, but the people in the gallery, people watching the people can watch temptations like the fish transformed to Mantley. And Big Well. After that, you can watch Earth in a space. Yeah, that kind of design, first person and third person. Yeah, from the beginning of the project, we tried to find some of the new feature and elements, like to boost the zone feel. Zone mode, that was really tough to create, and we had many tests and experiments, but we couldn't have the big confidence. Oh, this is it, and we decided to extend development 3 months. We promised with Hank, so Hank told me, please make a new Tetris game using and boosting that kind of a zone feel. In our mind, we all the time, how can we make it a Zen feeling? What is Zen? It's like that kind of experience. We dive into the pool and the ocean, like suddenly like boom. The time stopped and the sound disappeared. So no place, no time. Then how many lines you can make?
You've got mail.
That was very successful. And finally we could find, oh, this is it. This is it. That was an amazing process of the production. So that was a very good thing to make, Tetris. Using Tetris and making the new thing. That was a very fantastic project to me.
Tetris movie came about around the same time that we were actually working on the Tetris sci-fi movie. And that movie ended up not happening, but a famous director said, hey, I want to make the Tetris movie, the biopic. From the very beginning, from the script writing stage, we were involved. And there was probably a couple of documentaries in the past that were out, like the BBC one, that kind of showcased like how amazing and interesting the story of Tetris was, right? And so anybody hearing that, like, it made sense. Like, there's this crazy American Dutch guy goes to the Soviet Union on a tourist visa and tries to track down the Ministry of Games to get the rights. The friendship that formed between Hank Rogers and Alexei Pajitnov that ultimately brought Tetris to the rest of the world. And now we have a whole new generation of Tetris players that maybe have never played, but their touch point was the movie.
I think our friendship goes deeper than our individual interest.
Hank and Alexei are so different.
You should help me with the... Yeah. Turn it, come on. Don't you see my piece?
What are you talking about? No, you can't put it there. You can't reach.
Yeah,
Just put it there. Yeah, here you go. Alexei, if you put him next to a music box, he'll be listening to classic music, and I'll be listening to rock.
Hank is an extrovert.
Tetris tastes much better than Cosmos. Is this Cosmos?
Alexei is not an extrovert.
The movies that he likes and the movies that I like are just different. Everything is kind of like that.
I brought my racquetball racket. Yeah, the only problem is that there's no racquetball courts in Moscow.
They're as different as you can get. I can say this because Hank's my father, right? So I can say some things that some people would never say. Hank is crazy. My dad is out there. He is the original, the most interesting man in the world. He'll do things that nobody would do. So that's him, right? He went to the Soviet Union on a tourist visa. Alexei is not crazy.
I don't know about him, but I always want to understand why such a ridiculous thing pleases him.
Hank loves the attention. Alexei doesn't want the attention. He's very traditional you know, like very Russian in his thinking, and Hank is like very Western American thinking.
His weak spot is a fish named herring. His Dutch soul just give up in front of herring plate, you know. He even find out the very far, very shabby German restaurant in San Francisco, kind of.
Come on, it's not shabby.
40-minute drive from the place just because the herring is there. In Russian culture, it's always the cheapest fish cut in piece on the piece of newspaper, which it used to eat after vodka. So all alcoholics is their main kind of snack, lowest level possible kind of food.
My favorite sushi is also, you know, the cheapest sushi. It's mackerel. It's saba.
Yes.
And so that's
almost herring.
it's like the cheapest.
But they have this common bond, this common language, and they completely have this trust in each other.
But we, you know, like we did the high school boys trip to Europe, the two of us, meaning we got Eurail passes. We just landed in Amsterdam. He likes to plan things and have everything decided, and I like to just adventure. Let's get on the train and see where it takes us. To reduce the stress, he would get one day and then I would get one day, and so we took turns. And on the day that, you know, it was his turn, he would figure out where we're going to stay, get the whole itinerary planned, and we would follow that itinerary. When it was me, let's get on the train. When we get there, we'll figure out where we're going to stay.
Yeah, wonderful trip.
Yeah, it was great, actually.
They're both brilliant, but their personalities are so different, right?
If we're in the same jurisdiction, in the same city, every other day, bottle of wine, dinner, and we have this this tradition. So, is it your turn or my turn?
Probably mine. Yeah, mine.
It's his business card cut in half, and it says Henk on it. He pays for dinner.
Yeah, and give it.
And then gives me the paper, and then I
or
have
not
it.
Forget whose turn is
and
it.
then I pay for dinner, and I give him the piece of paper. That's how we keep track of whose turn it is to pay for dinner.
Yeah.
Kimchi. No.
Oh, sorry. That's my fault.
Time up.
Time up.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Hey, good game.
Absolutely.
I believe that Tetris will be here forever. Alexei really created the perfect game.
I have maybe a dozen, maybe 14 different reasons why it's outstanding game. And it's kind of very rare combination of very small traits which somehow strangely come together in one title. It's like a miracle.
Now we have VR and AR, and we don't want to really get stuck in the past.
We don't know the future, but if I have a chance, I want to create the new experience using Tetris, using new technology, new devices.
We're trying to take more risks, Tetris is I have to take a deep breath because it means so much to me. It's not just a game for me, it's family, it's our culture. Tetris to me is joy.
I think we're only now getting around to figuring out why it is that Tetris is so, how can I say, soothing, if you will. I think it's a way to calm your mind down before you start your day and then after you're done with your day. So I think what Tetris can do and what Tetris does is it takes you into a zone. Your conscious mind is absorbed in Tetris and your subconscious mind is free to wander. And that's a relaxed state. It's sort of like electronic meditation, if you will. And Tetris is the perfect game for that.
Previous research by Oxford Psychological Lab shows that Tetris is very useful to get rid of flashback in PTSD situations. So it's really helpful. So we have really good hopes on it.
There's a lot of trauma in the world. If we can make a dent in this trauma, then maybe we can make the world a better place.
I still consider Tetris as a pure entertainment. One of the best electronic game which provide you happiness from the screen.
We just recently had a game player beat Tetris.
Oh my god!
We never thought that would be possible, but that's Tetris.
Some games has a really long life. Look at chess, it's about 1,000-year-old game.
Tetris is the one game that's still going to be around when all the other games are gone.
If we can keep providing Tetris and keep providing joy, then I will feel like I've accomplished something.
That's the realization of my dream. Enjoy, play Tetris. And be ready for Tetris very soon. Hurrah! Be ready. Boom! We got it.